Srikanth Vaidyanathan was born into a family that has been in Swami's fold since the early 60s. He grew up in Chennai, where he attended the Balvikas SSE program. In 1986, he joined the primary school in Prashanti Nilayam for his sixth grade and went on to complete his high school there. He did his undergraduate studies in Brindavan and completed his MSc Physics from Prashanti Nilayam. Swami provided him with many opportunities to speak in front of the Divine Presence and also be a part of the Prashanti Mandir Bhajan group. He had also participated in Convocation dramas. He has a master's in electrical engineering from the University of California in Davis, and he is an active participant in Sai activities in the greater Boston area. He currently serves as the National Devotional Coordinator for the Sri Sathya Sai International Organization, USA. I think most of us are very familiar with Brother Srikanth, and he is a wonderful speaker. So, brother, welcome, and I'll hand it over to you. And I believe you're muted.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the introduction, Sister Sridevi. I want to start out by offering my most prayerful salutations at Swami's lotus feet. Also want to pay respects to all the elders and most beloved sisters, brothers in this beautiful Sai family. Just going to go ahead and share a few slides here. Today I thought I will share, hopefully you can see it, yeah. That I'll share my journey in this beautiful relationship with Swami through a series of pictures and stories of having spent time with him. Hopefully, every time I speak on these things, it provides new insights, most importantly for me. And hopefully you all can take away some lessons as well. As they always say, the experiencer could be different, but the message is the unique aspect of Swami's relationship with each one of us. The beauty of the Sai avatar is his presence amidst us. As you see in this picture, very often we gathered around him as students all the time for any kind of mundane as well as the highest spiritual conversations. But at the same time, even in this collective presence that we have with him, the relationship with each of us have with him is fairly unique. Whether it was in his presence or whether it is today, as we meet several Sai devotees these days who are our own next generation, who many of them have not had the opportunity to see Swami in person. But through these stories, through his teachings, through his messages, he becomes this personification of this beauty, this splendor, this joy, this love that Swami always was and is. So when I look at this picture, I wanted to start out this is actually a picture in the Kalyana Mandapam in Whitefield, Brindavan campus. And this is, several of us sitting around Swami. And this is exactly how it was, like I was mentioning. And, they say in the Sanskrit word Upanishad refers to Upa, Ni, and Shad, right? It is the nearness to the master and sitting below, if you break up each of the words. So the flow of the highest wisdom from the master to the student is present. I also want to say this, speaking to the Arcadia Center, it's a beautiful opportunity. I have personally had the pleasure of being in the Arcadia Center in the homes of Dr. Reddy and Haimanti. And always fondly remember, because the first place I came to when I came for my education was in California. And, my trips took me to different Sai centers in California before eventually I moved to the East Coast. So very fondly remember the Arcadia Center as well. With that, I will start with this letter of Swami, which he wrote way back in 1973. I think several of you may have seen this letter. I often go back to this letter because it pretty much is, in many ways, um, uh, where Swami calls out the spiritual hunger which is present in man. Before I expound it anymore, I should read what Swami has to say here. My dear, have you got any spiritual hunger? Spiritual hunger is the ultimate meaning of every activity in life. The dissatisfaction and the restlessness that remain even after obtaining all the necessities of life show that everyone consciously or unconsciously does suffer from spiritual hunger. And it is not appeased until the spirit within is realized. Without this divine discontent, there is no real progress. World peace is possible when all the people of the world wake up to the facts governing universal life, and when there is a heart-to-heart feeling of goodness, love, and oneness among the inhabitants of the world. With blessings, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Again, when I look at Swami's avatarhood and his time spent on the earth in this physical form was only to rise or awaken this need for the spiritual consciousness in all of us. I think, as Swami points out here, I think we get through life on a daily basis and do our best in terms of, living up to the values that he's taught us. But what connects us back to him all the time over and over again, or what personifies as discontent, which allows us to connect back to our spirit, is this spiritual hunger which Swami talks about. On the same note, when I think of Swami himself and his avatarhood and his time spent on earth, I very fondly think of this quote which Swami himself has said: God has 4 qualities, and it is only when you cultivate them that you can understand him. They are divine love or prema, beauty or saundarya, sweetness, which is madhurya, and splendor, which is shobha. So the 4 qualities: divine love, beauty, sweetness, and splendor. The development of prema is enough to add unto you the other 3. When you are so full of love for the divine in all creation, that stage is beauty. When you are immersed in the sea of universal love, you reach the acme of sweetness. When your mind loses its identity and merges in the universal mind, then there is splendor indescribable. I look at this quote in 2 different ways. One is when I think of Swami himself, I think he personified all these qualities, and hopefully in the stories that I share, you will see personifications of these qualities of Bhagawan. But at the same time, I think if you look at the deeper essence of this quote, Swami says, to understand him, you have to develop all this. And so beautifully, he points out that from this prema, everything else comes through. So something for us to keep in mind, to really enjoy all that he was and he is. It is so important for us to develop these beautiful divine qualities, starting out with love, which pretty much allows us to have the opportunity to build on the other qualities here: beauty, sweetness, and splendor. So when Sister Sridevi read out early on, for me, I was very fortunate and truly blessed in many ways that my grandparents came to Swami in the early 60s. And so Swami was always the center of our home right from the beginning. So even before my father was, married to my mother, Swami had already entered our home in many ways. They were already part of, satsangs in different parts of Chennai. And they even had the opportunity to be in Swami's presence in Prashanthi Nilayam, have multiple conversations with him. And as you all must have heard, in the early days, it used to be so easy where, the access to Swami was, if you're coming into Prashanthi Nilayam on the first day, you have the opportunity to sit up front. Swami walks up to you, talks to you. And, the day you are leaving, you again have the chance to, sit up front, take the opportunity to tell him you're leaving, get his blessings, and, take off. And, by the time I got there as a student, obviously Swami's mission had grown. There were, many more devotees, many more people in his presence. So I always used to envy the time that people in early days spent in his presence, because no doubt, with the lesser number of people being there, the access to Swami was much, much more. So, like I said, there were many miracles which occurred when my grandparents used to go to this bhajan, which was a small bhajan mandali, as it was in Chennai at that time. These small groups which were beginning to form. Again, people seeking something beyond their mundane life. Bhajans were obviously the source of joy. It is also, Swami says, Namasmarana is the easiest way to reach God in this Kali Yuga, right? Just chanting the name. And bhajan movement, as you see, is become part of Swami's mission over and over again. When we think of any event, any Swami's event, bhajan is always there, morning, evening, all the time. So in this point, my grandparents and my father used to go to this place every Thursday. They used to have bhajans, and very fortunate that during these bhajan times, those was also times where Swami did a lot of miracles in many ways to think of multiple things. I think one is to draw people towards him, obviously to give them the highest wisdom. But at the same time, it is also miracles, like Swami says, is also his visiting cards. It is also his way of showing his presence in any spiritual activity which used to go on. Simple things like, in this particular place, there used to be the bhajans. At the end of the bhajans, there used to be letters which appeared at the picture of, Swami. And it used to be addressed to specific individuals, addressing particular problems that they're going through, or things which they need to focus on, or if they had a question in their mind, walking into the bhajan, there were responses to that. And in fact, even today, we have some of these letters which Swami had written in our home. And this, actually, when I think about it, in that particular home, they actually always saved the letters or, anything that appeared at the altar itself. And one particular day, my grandmother had this in mind, saying, Swami, when you write a message to me, would it be possible for me to take that letter home? Because I know in the devotee family lovingly keeps everything in the altar itself. But if it is personally written to me, is there a way I can take it with me home? And, those days, I think it's just a thought, and it manifested in many ways. That day, there was a letter addressed to my grandmother, and in Tamil, it was written there, Idai eduthuko, which means take it with you. So even today, we have that, in Swami's writing, we have that letter at our home in Chennai. Another day, my grandmother was, feeling very tired, and, she had a headache, and she was like, should I go to the bhajan today? And, in the end, she decided, Swami's always said, don't complain about, participating in activities. In fact, it is better, at one point, Swami gives it in a very harsh tone. He says it's better to have the name of the divine in your lips when you give up your life. It's much more, the purpose is much, much higher in life. So with that in mind, my grandmother did end up going to the bhajan, and that day, there was this Amritanjan, or the headache balm, that came out of the picture, and she had the opportunity to take that. So that was their relationship with Swami. The physical Swami, as he was in Prashanti Nilayam, or when he visited Madras so often those days, and at the same time, in his absence of the physical body, through these various miracles. And that was the connection which was slowly building up. My my grandparents they were very, very instrumental in the whole family coming to Swami. And Swami was always, already before I was born, the center of our puja room, and the picture which we always adored. And any event in the family, Swami was the first person we always prayed to. So coming into Bal Vikas was a very natural thing for me at that point. In the 70s, Bal Vikas classes had started. So by the time I was 6, I was already in, group 1 of Bal Vikas. And those days, like I was saying, Swami used to come to Chennai so often. And whenever Swami came, we had the opportunity to actually put these different plays in Swami's presence. And this is a picture from way back. I'm so glad that we have, these memories in this form of these pictures. And this was there were multiple plays in Swami's presence. One of the plays was about the story of Krishna, and how a thief, hears the story of Krishna, and saying he is on the banks of the Yamuna, and, he's decked with all these jewels. So the thief's one utmost thing in his mind was, I should go to the banks of Yamuna and I should look for this boy so that I can take away all his jewels. That is the story. And as these Puranics, or even the spiritual stories from our scriptures tell us, the intent of the story is anything which is done with supreme faith, then God manifests himself. In fact, Krishna appears to this thief and gives all that he's wearing to Krishna himself. So that is the amount of, whether it is done for a good cause or a bad cause. If the thought is always on Krishna, I think it will always lead you to him. So I had the chance to play the role of Krishna. So I'm the one standing on Swami's left there. I was, 5-6 years old, and next to Swami, I got my first chance. And it was always we had known Swami as God, but slowly he was becoming this in person God who was available to me in person. And so that year I got to stand next to Swami, and he asked me, "What is your name?" So that was my first interaction with Swami. And the following year, again, I was in a few other places. That's one more picture up close. And, it was very beautiful. At that time, Swami used to still take garlands and things like that. So the following year, I had the opportunity to, it was a different play, and I had the opportunity to offer the garland to Swami. And Swami actually, after he put on the garland, he gave it to me to take. So you see me there again on the left. I took the garland back home, and, it was few more conversations with Swami. So Swami was becoming this, very physical entity, who God in human form, what that really means, where again, that relationship was slowly building in his presence. Subsequently, this is again a play in 1983. And subsequently, what happened was I had the opportunity to give a welcome speech when Swami came to Sundaram. So Sundaram was inaugurated in 1981. And pretty much January 19th is the Sundaram inauguration day. And pretty much every year, Swami used to make a trip to Chennai, and we had the opportunity to be in his presence. So this was in 1981, and I was asked to give the welcome speech when Swami came to Chennai that year. So Swami, the plan was for me to give the talk as soon as Swami came and sat on his chair. So it was all good till Swami came and sat on the chair, and I got up and I was giving the talk. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And suddenly Swami, who was sitting, got up from the chair and came and stood in front of me, and he kept looking at me in the eyes. And as you know, this is, Sundaram is a large place, lot of crowd in Swami's presence. I was quite scared actually to give the talk because particularly with Swami staring in your eyes, I was very afraid that I might forget what I had prepared to speak. And, Swami did not stop. He kept staring into my eyes for a long time. And I intentionally looked elsewhere, and I continued giving the talk. And as soon as I finished, I was, quite happy that I completed the talk. And then I looked at Swami, and immediately Swami asked me, how many days practice? And I immediately said, Swami, it was about 9 days practice. Then he quickly switched and said, no, it was not 9 days. It was 11 days. You started on this particular day, and then you went till this particular day. And this was just regular banter, and Swami was talking to me in Tamil and a little bit of English. And suddenly Swami switched over after that and said something to me in Telugu. And when he said that to me in Telugu, at that time I didn't even understand Telugu, nor I could, even repeat it to others. And actually, even the people sitting around me were all Tamil speaking, so they did not understand. And this was something I was feeling bad that I didn't understand what Swami said. And then subsequently next year, I applied to Swami's school in Prashanthi Nilayam, and then joined in my 6th grade. And I used to always think about this. I completely forgot, or I couldn't even understand what Swami said. Many years later, this was almost 10-12 years later, after I had joined Puttaparthi, I think this was in the year 1997 or 1998. I was sitting with Swami in the interview room, and multiple groups of devotees were sitting on either sides of Swami. And Swami always takes great pleasure in introducing his students to the devotees, and particularly children who had grown up with him the entire time. And I went to him when I was about 10 years old, in his physical presence. So Swami said all that, and he told them, he came to me when he was about 10 years old. He spent a lot of time in my presence, and Swami always puts different accolades, and he's a gold medalist, and he sings in the bhajan group and all that he said. And then after that, Swami said, I told him to come and join my school, and that is why he came and joined my school. Now, this was something I was thinking in my mind. I did not say anything. In Swami's presence, it's always good to keep quiet rather than, exhibit your ignorance. So I was thinking, Swami, this one you did not tell me at all. I remember applying to the college, and that's how I came and joined. And Swami immediately, I think, looked at me because he knew that thought was in my mind. He immediately said, you remember that day you gave this talk in Chennai when I had come before you joined the school? And, I said this to you in Telugu, he said. Now, this is, almost 13 years later. And, in a place I was just thinking, Swami is this personal God for everybody. He has interactions with so many people around the world at a very physical level and at a metaphysical level. But at the same time, this one conversation which he has with each individual, right? And he remembered that. And I was like, even I, who was part of that conversation, didn't even know or know what he meant by that. But here Swami remembers that and mentions that to me 13 years later. The reason I mention all these details is that is the special bond we share with Swami always. I think each of us has that connection, whether it's through a personal interaction or whether it's through a dream or whether it is through any incident which happens apparently in this mundane life. Swami connects with us in a way which is extremely personal. So that's where I mentioned even at the beginning, he's this universal God or the avatar who we adore so much. At the same time, he is this personal God and who helps with the transformation of individual, right? That's the greatest miracle. Swami's greatest miracle is not the institutions and the organizations and other things which he has obviously established, and we are so blessed to be part of all these things. But at the same time, his greatest miracle is the transformation of human heart. How many of us see each of ourselves as reflections or examples of that very thing which Swami came to perform? Or right at the beginning, I read the letter about spiritual hunger. This is one avatar who tells us that you are suffering from hunger. That is why this is happening, or suffering from spiritual hunger. At the same time, he tells us the solution of how to get back to that through the practice of these different values. That is where this makes this interaction and this conversation with this beautiful avatar such an enjoyable journey. At the same time, as we interact with him, interact with his teachings, interact with his messages, all the more important for us to keep in mind how blessed we are to have this beautiful opportunity to redeem our own lives by association with him. Anyway, subsequently, I joined the primary school, and Bharatanatyam was always something I loved very much. My father actually never allowed me to learn Bharatanatyam. He said, "You're a boy. Why don't you learn, Carnatic music? It will be helpful for you." And I'm grateful that that was very helpful, obviously with the music and other things which I was involved with. But I somehow always liked Bharatanatyam dancing, and so this was an opportunity arose. Swami was visiting the primary school, and this was the first thing I physically, in Swami's presence, I had the opportunity to present a dance, and actually that was a picture Swami took right after that with me. And of course, I always think even today that was the last time I danced as well. Music became the most important part of my life in Swami's presence. So. But again, Swami's way of interacting with us as students on one side, but at the same time, I think for us, he becomes the single object who we want to make happy. Particularly, that was so evident in our presence in Prashanthi Nilayam. Every activity we did, whether it's giving a talk, giving a dance, or singing a song, or doing mega productions like dramas and other things, and getting good grades in college and getting the gold medal. Anything that we did, I think the most beautiful thing was singularly we wanted to make Swami happy. And I think that was the only purpose. And anything which made him happy, we continued to do more. Anything which didn't make him happy, he allowed us to correct ourselves to come up to his expectations. And I think even today that lesson is very, very valid. I think of situations we go through in life, at work and otherwise. And any words we say or any action we perform, if we always have the touchstone of whether Swami would approve this or not, it becomes very, very easy actually. Because our conscience is pretty much the presence of Swami within us. And if we take a pause and ask that question of that conscience or of Swami, I think the answers become very, very self-evident. We don't have to look for those responses outside. Yeah, beautifully Swami points out that, the desire to reach God, that's the question Swami is answering, how to reach God. The inner interest should be there. And at the same time, that is Swami is talking about that spiritual hunger, if you will, which we saw right at the beginning, that you should really feel the need, the pangs of that. At the same time, the affection to Swami, in this case, he gives a physical example, that desire to reach God, and of course, the physical affection towards Swami, automatically it forces you to come and sit right up in the front. This is a video from Kodaikanal, and Swami often talks to students, sitting around, and there are multiple sessions during the day. And one of those sessions, this question is being asked, and Swami says, those who come up and sit in the front, because it's the strong interest and the affection which forces them to come forward. This is something for us to always ponder and keep in mind. I think if spiritual path is the way we want to go, then paying attention to that conscience and putting ourselves in a situation which will get closer to Him, it becomes very, very essential. Quickly run through a few more stories. I will try to keep it at a very high level. Of course, plays are a big part of our time spent in Swami's presence. So there was this play, Cheppinattu Chestara, which is a play Swami's written himself. It is part of Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Professor Kasturi captures that beautifully in book 1, actually, where Swami, when he was very young, and we all know the story of he was part of the Pandari Bhajan group, and Swami did many of these plays in order to bring out a lot of moral stories for the society. And this is the Cheppinattu Chestara play, and Swami had chosen me to play the role of Krishna, which is the title character, and Swami himself had played the role when he was much younger. In fact, he told me, it is a play I have written and it's a role I have done. I will teach you how to do it. So all along the way, the beauty of these plays is it's not the final product what we present. That's important, but at the same time, the journey is where it's very, very beautiful in Swami's presence, where you spend day, morning, evening. Swami will put so much effort into this play. And I look at it in 2 ways. One is, anything that Swami did, he put his best foot forward. Always he put the maximum effort in order to make sure that the event is successful. At the same time, I think for us as students or as devotees, being with him throughout the journey, it pretty much, I remember Swami used to spend so much time in the interview room, morning and evening, not just talking about the play, but he will use that opportunity to talk about various life lessons. So this was the Convocation play in 1988. In fact, who you see in the left right there is Dr. Sundarayar. He had actually written the English script for the play, and he played the role of the teacher in that play. So Swami all along, spent a lot of time teaching me the nuances of this character who is conflicted because he sees his father, mother, and teacher say one thing and do something else. And in the end, the bottom line is, he says, these are the 3 people who are most dear to me at this age, and they themselves do not practice what they preach. At that point, God is my only refuge. So that is why words should never be empty. That's the intent of this. What you say, you should practice. The play culminated, and in Swami, the beautiful thing is, he will put all the effort, make you do a good job, and at the end, actually I concluded with this, Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva. It's sung in a tune, and Swami was very happy. He materialized a chain for me, and he is the creator, but at the same time, sometimes he deludes you with the Maya as well. So next few days, this more I'm at a just for fun, I wanted to share is, multiple times Swami actually made me show that chain to several people, and see, I gave him that chain, he used to say. It was a very, very beautiful experience, and from there on, Swami allowed me to be part of many plays and things like that. Of course, he also used to asked me to speak many times. And all along I used to wonder, many of these things Swami made us speak, made us sing, if you look at it, these are all mundane activities. But at the same time, in every activity, like I said earlier, part of the preparation, you think about him. All along, you interact with him so that he gives you the best messages and life lessons. At the same time, in the end, it's so nice that we often say love is the source, love is the path, love is the goal, and pretty much he's everything here. In the end, the only person we seek to make happy is him, right? So that was again the only motivation for me, particularly when as a student. I think Swami was the only focus who we wanted to make happy. Anyway, this was when Swami visited the hostel, and we had a prize distribution function. I did give a talk, and right after the talk, this was a picture Swami took. And actually, he was very kind enough that actually he, for birthday, Swami used to sign these pictures as well. So he had autographed it for me as well at that point. I'll quickly run through just to give you a spin of, sense of life in Prasanthi Nilayam as students. Apart from education, it's not that we don't go through secular education. That is most important during the college hours or school hours. But at the same time, above and beyond, as we know, it is often called as a modern day Gurukulam, right? In the end, the life lessons that we got in his presence was something amazing. It beyond the secular education which we got. A quick story here, just with some humor as well. So one of the Convocation dramas, actually, the Swami had decided that it would be the play Markandeya's story. I think several of us know the story of Markandeya. Per the Hindu epics, he was somebody who was born out of a blessing, Shiva's blessing to Mrikandu and Marudvati, a very pious couple who did not have children. And so at that point, they are given a choice. Do you want a good child who will live for 16 years? Or do you want a child who will live for a long time but will, have a bad name? And being very pious parents, they choose, having a good child. And then the 16th year comes by, and God of death, Yama, comes to take him away. And, he prays to Lord Shiva. And, Shiva makes him a Chiranjeevi. That is one who lives forever. So that is the essence of the story. And of course, we have the entire Markandeya Purana, right, dedicated to story and similar stories. So this was the play, and that year Swami had chosen to have two plays, and the play which he wanted us to perform, and actually particularly he had asked me to play the role of Markandeya's mother. And the way it was, Swami had said this year it will be a Telugu play, because it was also, I think, 65th birthday actually. So it was in Shantivedika. And Swami wanted everybody, even the local people, to be able to understand. So one play was in Telugu, one was in English. So Telugu, even though we grew up there, Telugu, I'm not so conversant in Telugu, and particularly not a native speaker also, right? Tamil was my mother tongue. And so I was a little bit scared, and particularly if the character had a lot of dialogues, so it was not one or two, so I had to pick up a lot of dialogues for the role. But then this was also interesting because quickly that year what had happened was it was the break during the semesters. That's when the convocation preparations start. And I'd just gone home for a day or two, and as soon as I landed, got a call from the warden saying Swami wants you to come back. And I asked my mother actually, can I stay one day and go, because I've come after a long time. And that is where it's so important that we surround ourselves, or it's a blessing of the Lord that we are surrounded by people who all point out to him and keep our focus on him. In fact, my mother said, Swami has called, you should go back right away. So the day I landed, next day immediately I left back. Swami called us in the next day morning. And he told me, this year, this is going to be the convocation play, and then I would like for you to do this role. And obviously, like I said earlier on, in Swami's presence, you don't say much, you just listen. But in my mind, I was like, Swami, Telugu will be very hard for me. But then Swami had also chosen the boy who was going to do the Markandeya's role, a much younger boy. And he was actually a Hindi boy, and he had to speak Telugu dialogues as well. So I was like, mine is not that difficult a job. At the same time, Swami had also chosen a lady's role, and I had not done a lady's role. And particularly, as you know, in the college there, Swami never mixed men and women in plays where they are much, much older. So it's important that even in plays like this, men put on the roles of ladies, or vice versa. When the girls had a program, the roles were performed by them, the male roles were performed by them themselves. So Swami said, "Don't." He said, "I want you to do this mother's role, and on that day, I will come and help you tie the sari myself." In fact, Swami, I still remember him saying this. He said, "I want you to tie the sari exactly like how Anjali Devi tied her sari in Sati Sakkubai movie." So it is the Sakkubai. We know her as the devotee of Lord Panduranga, and the Maharashtrian style of wearing the sari is what Swami wanted. So, as he promised on that particular day, actually, when the um, convocation was completed, actually, that year, we had the President of India, Dr. Shankar Sharma, was the chief guest. So, once the convocation was completed, actually, Swami came down, helped me tie the sari and everything. In fact, when I look at the picture, I remember I'm still wearing a lot of jewels and all that. Swami made a comment saying, "Only your husband is a sannyasi. You should go ahead and wear all the jewels," he said. So anyway, so that was the play, and I quickly want to narrate one more small thing with this particular play. So the first act of the play is where the husband and wife are praying to God, saying, "We don't have any children. Please bless us with a child." And the first act completes, and suddenly, as soon as the act is completed, the warden comes from behind and says, "Swami is saying, your trousers are seen from below the sari, and obviously this." And he wants you to make sure your sari covers it. I say this for two reasons. One is, at that moment I was just thinking, Swami is sitting with the President of India, and with a stadium filled with people and so many things to take care, and Swami's eye falls on this one particular detail, which is so insignificant, right? It's on the stage, and nobody can even see it. But on the flip side, if you think about Swami, I think those are two lessons I always learned by watching him over and over and over again. The pursuit of perfection, right? In the sense that is something, these are truly divine qualities, but some of them, not some of them, I think we can also try to emulate to the best of our abilities. Anything that we do, put our best foot forward, right? So anything, like I was saying, a particular play or a particular talk, which appear very insignificant, but Swami would spend hours and hours and hours tweaking it. A particular sari he gives to an individual, a particular shirt piece he gives to somebody, the amount of time he would spend preparing for it. Inauguration of different events, inauguration of or the celebration of different festivals as it occurred in Prashanti Nilayam. Swami's hand and planning are behind everything. On that final day, obviously we see him in this freshness walking amidst all of us. But at the same time, we should realize he has put so much effort at the back end to make everything possible as well. Truly standing as an example, when he said, "My life is my message," Swami truly stood for that. That's something I observed, the pursuit of perfection. At the same time, the flip side, when they say it's like a coin, the backside of the coin is instant detachment. And that is Swami, a God is like Swami says, right? God, if he comes down with four arms and, Shankha Chakra, we'll put him in a museum. He said instead, if he personifies these divine qualities like pursuit of perfection and instant detachment, what I mean by that is, if we organize an event, we'll talk about it for 10 years, saying, that event was so great, 1,000 people attended it, it was done in this beautiful facility, we can talk more and more and more. But in Swami's case, what I noticed is he puts the maximum effort, makes the event occur, and at the same time, his detachment also is instantaneous. Just like, I still can recollect how Swami would drop the handkerchief as a symbolism of detachment. I think once the hospital is constructed or the institute is completed, his detachment is also instant. You'll never see him go around advertising it and speaking about it over and over again. That is where he set these beautiful examples of work hard for whatever you want to do, but at the same time, once it's complete, move on to the next thing. I think I'm at 45 minutes. So, Sister Sridevi, maybe another 5-10 minutes. Is that okay?
Oh, yes, please go ahead.
All right, I'll quickly run through this. Just have a few pictures so that everybody can see. At the same time, I also want to make sure that amidst the story, the messages are never forgotten. And I'm sure each of you will get your own messages from these different stories. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to put my own personal reflections here as well. So God can be worshipped in many ways. His name can be repeated, his glories chanted, his true nature contemplated in meditation. In every instance, the main essential is the divine name. Doctors speak of vitamin deficiency. I will call it the deficiency of vitamin G, and I will recommend the repetition of the name of God. Whatever sadhanas one may perform, or however much one may recite the Lord's name, God will not judge one by these criteria. What is the transformation in one's heart? If there is no transformation of the heart, of what avail are spiritual sadhanas? So if we look at it, yeah, there are multiple quotes here. Obviously, the first two point to Namasmarana being the most important thing for us to continue to develop this singular connection with Him. That was one thing Swami was so particular when we were in His presence. Swami used to often make the comment, you came here for me. Don't create all these connections and in the process forget me. So that is a lesson I always carry with me, because when we come to his fold, we become part of, this beautiful Sai centers, this beautiful organization and everything. But in the process, get inspired by all the different activities which go on. But at no point we should forget that our only connection is with him. And we continue to nurture that connection, continue to build on that connection. In the end, make our lives worthy of his message. And finally, when you see the last quote there, all this leading of chanting of the name should lead us to the transformation of one's heart. In the end, that is the purpose of the Sai avatar. So even amongst all the stories, I always like to share these quotes in between, only because the purpose is only our relationship with him, nothing more than that. Again, just a few examples. I think Swami often, this is something, readiness is something which I also learned from Swami. He always wanted me to give talks before his discourse. And, there are several stories I've shared in the past, so I won't repeat it here. What I did notice with Swami was, sometimes he used to give me 10 days before and say, on this Janmashtami day or Ganesh Chaturthi day, you're going to give a talk and all that. So that way you're well prepared and you're ready to go. Then I did notice 10 days became 3 days, 3 days became 2 days, 2 days became the morning of, I remember this Janmashtami day, in the morning, actually the registrar of the institute, he said, Swami wants you to speak in the evening. And very soon that evening, the situation became, get up and speak. What I'm trying to point out is, Swami's training is also like that. I think he initially gives you enough time, preparation, and all that planning, all that goes on. But slowly he sets you up for success where, the moment you truly believe, you're always prepared. That's what I wanted to point out. In the end, it comes with good preparation and with the humility of Swami will do what is best and it'll flow through you. Like he often says, make yourself a flute in Krishna's hands so that, the beautiful sound that he blows, if you are without any inhibitions, beautiful music will come through. But if you have a lot of blocks in the flute, the beautiful music cannot come through. So that is something I learned with Swami, that, being prepared always becomes important. But at the same time, staying humble, keeping the humility such that you allow his energy, his love to flow through you. Anyway, this was also a memorable occasion for me, because right after that Janmashtami talk, this was in the Purnachandra Hall, Swami, he had actually mentioned to me that, I could sing bhajans in the mandir. I'm sure you have all heard from other people. Singing bhajans in the mandir was only by permission by Swami. Nobody else could say you're ready to sing and you can sing. It was that beautiful relationship, and there are several stories with that, where Swami makes different students go through a lot of sadhana before he says, okay, you can sing. And he also makes sure, obviously, singing in the mandir there particularly is a service, or in our Sai centers. Bhajan singing is, it gives us great joy, but at the same time, it is also a service at a large level, right? A bhajan sung well can make everybody connect with God. A bhajan sung not so well will dissociate everybody from that connection. So it is important that it's beautiful such that people are not engrossed in the singer himself, but think of God. And at the same time, done well enough such that our attention is not diverted from there. Again, just few different examples of our interactions. This is from exhibitions in Puttaparthi. more, I just wanted to give you a sense of, everything life revolved around Swami, whatever it was, secular, spiritual, otherwise, anything and everything was, Swami came, inaugurated, talked to us, was part of it. That's the beauty of the whole thing. I'll just quickly run through here. This is in the interview room. Swami used to give us interviews as even class, grades as they were graduating out and going to the next level. This is Swami had materialized a diamond. He was showing it to everybody there. In the interest of time, I will just quickly. This is Trai Brindavan. Again, plenty of experiences. Maybe some other opportunity when it comes, I'll share stories from here as well. I was also very interested in sports, and it was something again. The nice thing was anything and everything at the end. If you get the gold medal or the shield or anything else, it was from Swami. So truly enjoyed that experience as well. This is part of the altar competition, which again, we used to build altars for each of our rooms, and then Swami used to be part of this competition, and then in the end, winners are chosen out of that, and just more fun, but at the same time, spiritual fun. So. I'll pass through these. Just wanted to quickly give you a sense of this, and of course, this was most recently in the alumni meet. I think a year prior to Swami leaving his physical form. Just a quick thing here. Even after so many years, I think that day when Swami I had given a short talk as part of the alumni program, and Swami called up and asked me about family and where you're staying, what you're doing, and all that kind of thing. So. His connection to us, whether it's physical or it is at a very personal level, even today, continues. It is for us to be inspired by the message that he brought through his human form and spending time with us. And it is for us to take it to the next level to make our lives truly his message. So I leave with some things which I particularly sought to emphasize for myself, and working with all the devotion coordinators these days, truly emphasizing on these spiritual practices. In the end, this is something very personal, and it amongst all the things we do, study circles, we do bhajans, we do service. These are all group activities, but at the same time, it is so important that we spend time doing our own personal activities as well, because that continues to build our connection with Swami. And these are things which Swami himself has given. Repeating his divine name, or chanting the Gayatri, Likita Japam, which is writing his name, or doing meditation, particularly Jyoti meditation and Soham meditation, recommended by Swami. Of course, we have the other aspects: praying and singing his glories, doing selfless service, diving deep into his teachings. And I particularly wanted to capture this because at the bottom of it, you see Swami has assured us that following his teachings immediately, implicitly, and completely, that is sufficient, right? In the end, that is the only reason we are here in the Sai fold, in the Sai community, and in the Sai organization, to grant us that ultimate goal of life, which is self-realization. Also, I'll conclude with one last thing, where, again, very dear to me, and, obviously Swami's words. Often we call ourselves as devotees of Swami, and, Swami is... always said he's still looking for that true devotee. But then he's given his own definition of what he expects from each of us. And even if we can take 2-3 of this and, really make it a daily practice, I think it will help us all in this journey. So chanting his name, speaking, searching for the truth, and love being truly their form, having purity in thought, word, and deed, and look upon every object as a form of divinity. Be engaged in activities that are holy and helpful, always doing the right thing and speaking the right way, no matter the situation, no matter the challenges we go through. Practice what you preach. We saw earlier on that is pretty much in line with Swami's Chepinna to Chestara. Can you practice all that you preach? The intention is so that our deeds should always follow precept. And having good deeds, good conduct, and good words. And this is, as early as 1960s, Swami had, when he started the Sanatana Sarathi magazine, that is when he was writing the editorial himself. So something for all to keep in mind. With that, I want to thank everybody for, their patient listening. And hopefully everybody could take away a few messages as I always, no matter I repeat some of these stories over and over again, there is new learning every time. With that, I want to thank everybody. Sai Ram, and over to you, Sister Sri Devi.
Sairam, dear brother, you took us all down a wonderful memory lane. Those are just amazing photographs, and you're just so blessed to have kept so many wonderful memories going back to your grandparents' time. Such a beautiful relationship from your grandparents' time, and it's. I find it so interesting how you met the Lord of the universe while you yourself played the role of the Lord Krishna. So I don't think that was a coincidence. I think he just has really pulled you towards him, and you gave us such excellent reminders and points, especially when you're giving us about telling us your personal spiritual practices. I think that is truly what all of us are striving for. Just to have Sai in our lives always. And like you said, just take one or two of his teachings to reach the goal. And we thank you so much. On behalf of the entire Arcadia Sai Center, we do thank you. It's late for you in Boston, yet you have energized all of us.
Thank you.
Jai
Thank you
Sai
so much. Sai Ram. Yeah.
Ram.